Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Episode 7, She-Hulk Review. That kind of rhymed. Kind of proud of myself for that one. Yes, so here we are, once again, into the wonderful world. I'll get right into it, but first, hellos to you who have joined me this morning. Darren Root, Cultist4, Keeverdam, Lurking Gopher, PyGuy07, Melty Love, Dax Orion, Fucking Quint. Good morning to you. Yes, so we have another episode where nothing happens to propel the plot forward, except for the little bit at the start and the little bit at the end. Now, we've talked about this before, about how the writers of this show are very self-confessed as to their lack of knowledge in courtroom struggles and so on. We've been given the preview of their lack of interest in the comic book genre in general, and She-Hulk in particular. But if we didn't already have enough evidence, let's all remember that the writers are terrible on this show. Because even the thing they want us to know, most importantly, at the end of the previous episode, seemingly is just poofed from the characters' minds in the following episode. What am I talking about? Well, as silly a parody as it was, and as cheap of a plot device as it is to have the quote-unquote intelligentsia, as the online trolls who are haters and so on, they made a big deal at the end of the last episode of pointing out to us and to the characters that there were active, serious death threats against She-Hulk. Right? This is serious, guys. This is serious stuff. This is real-life stuff, see? Does that matter at all in this episode? Nope. Even when you think it might? Nope. It doesn't. We'll get to that momentarily. Thank you, Keeverdam. Good to be back. Also, GoFundMe's are in the chat. Yes, thank you, Keeverdam. I will get those up right now. And welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. You were in Ireland, yes? You didn't kiss the Blarney Stone, did you? I hear that's unhealthy. Anyway, so let's just forget everything that happened in the last episode. Let's forget the big red flag at the end of the last episode about the death threats. Yeah, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. What we have is a dating montage. Oh my gosh, guys. Oh boy, it's a dating montage. Do you remember Josh? Do you remember Josh, the inexplicably really accommodating and worshiping and praising guy at the wedding in the last episode who came out of nowhere and was just like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. Oh my gosh, you're so wonderful. I think Jen's pretty cool. You remember that guy? Yeah, well, Jen is going to go on a dating montage with this guy. And how does that start? Well, Josh can't wait to see her. Can't wait to see her. Okay, so we get to watch Jen going through her morning routine of showering and getting dressed and taking a shot of alcohol. What time is this again? What time is it supposed to be? I think it's supposed to be 7 in the morning. Something like that, because her phone says like 7 o'clock when she gets a couple of texts. But she's got to make sure to have that morning pick-me-up, I guess, with a shot. Because that's, I don't know, I mean, to each their own, I suppose. Anyway, so she's getting ready, and then Josh is here. Now, you see it's daylight outside, right? You see it's like bright daylight outside? So I'm assuming because she's brushing her teeth and she's taking a shower, I mean, maybe it's 7 in the evening. That would make more sense, but I kept thinking this is morning. Because that's just... Anyway, so it's 7:02 a.m. or p.m. I'm going to say p.m., because he shows up, and then all of a sudden it's nighttime. So I'm guessing it's 7 o'clock. So she was having a shot at 7 o'clock before her date. Ah, yes, candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. Anyway, so they have their date, and it's all we get, guys, for the next little while is dating montage and, like, happy girl power go me music. And so they shake at the end of the first date. Oh, isn't that cute? And then she's in the office the next day, and they're talking about something, and it's all about texts. And he's like, hey, Idea for a food truck. Fries dipped in milkshake. You in? And we know what she feels about fries from her previous dates. Oh boy. And we get an up nostril shot of her being also happy. Oh my God. And then she's on a date again, and they're dating, and they're going around, and they kind of kiss, and then they're done, and she's all like happy. I guess that's the facial expression there. She's happy, and she's getting more texts. What are you doing Thursday? Oh, and they go out to a movie, and then they're like going back home, and then finally they go in, and they finally close escrow. And then it's Friday. Okay, so that was Thursday. This is Friday. She wakes up after her night with Josh, and Josh is gone. Oh my gosh, Josh got up and left her. He hit it and quit it. What a player. What a player Josh is. Anyway, she's ecstatic. She got laid. And she's like, that was fun. I can't stop smiling. And she's so, look how happy she's so happy. I mean, a guy came out of nowhere and just showered her with nothing but praise and romance and love bombed her all over the place. And she's so happy. She's so happy. Never mind the end of the last episode and the warning and never mind that. Never mind the still unexplained, inexplicable, seemingly not even worth talking about attack in the alley with the guys with the syringe. No, never mind. No, that was all episodes ago. That doesn't matter. Anyway, so she's really happy and she's all glowing and everything, but he's not responding. Josh isn't responding back. Oh my gosh. And here I am thinking one of two things at this point. Okay. I'm thinking that either he was kidnapped by the bad guys because now he has some genetic material on his person from Jen, or he is one of the bad guys and now has some genetic material of her on his person. Those are the two that I thought of. Can you imagine which one it might be by the end of this? Anyway, so back to the office, and Jen is being awarded as Female Lawyer of the Year. Wow, for all those great court cases she oversaw, those wonderfully written, without any stakes or actual trial precedent procedure, anything that even resembled an actual court case. She just kind of showed up, said a couple things, and the case went in her favor. Or in that one case where she physically threatened a defendant or a respondent in a case in order to go the way that she wanted to with a little demon baby thing. Remember that? Yeah, well, anyway, she's going to get Female Lawyer of the Year. Why not Lawyer of the Year? Why do you have to, segregate it like that? I don't get it. But anyway, so she's going to be Female Lawyer of the Year for no particular reason. And Jen is on the Intelligentsia site. But she's like, I don't care what a bunch of losers say about me online. Oh, really? Really? Well, both in the show and in real life, the people involved in the show seem to care a lot about what quote-unquote losers the prospective audience have to say about her online. But, whatever. Can't even see to my face because they know they'd get Hulk smashed. Oh, yeah, That's why. That's why. And if they said it to your face, you'd punch them. Okay. All right. Anyway, so she keeps checking her phone, waiting for Josh to text her back, because Josh needs to text her back. Oh my God, it was such a wonderful time with Josh, and he's just disappeared. I mean, he spent 3 dates doing nothing but praising her. He spent a whole wedding doing nothing but doting on her. And then he suddenly just disappears. So it couldn't be that she got played, I guess, right? I mean, let's think about this for a second. If you honestly believed that Josh was an honest and sincere person, and everything that had led up to that, he shook your hand on the first date, kiss on the second date, third date until something happened, he was nothing but a total gentleman, responsive the whole time, and he just disappears. Your first thought is something must have happened to him. Like, maybe I need to contact someone that would know how to get a hold of him elsewise, call the hospitals, something. No, she's just like, well, you know, whatever, I'm sure he'll get back to me. Anyway, thank you, Dax Orion. In a stunning twist, it's neither A nor B, rather she gives him the super herp, super crabs, and a super sore booty. She pegged him. No, Dax, here's the thing. Josh likes Jen for Jen, not She-Hulk. You see, because even though Jen and She-Hulk are the exact same person, just with different body types, Josh likes Jen. Like I said the last episode, and a couple of episodes previous to this, if She-Hulk and Jen Walters were two distinct personalities, if it was a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing, I could maybe see some of that argument making any sense here. But at this point, it's just, which do you prefer on a more physical level? Because at the end of the day, the personality is the same. It's the same person, right? Like, I want She-Hulk, not Jen. You're not two different people. You don't put on an act to be She-Hulk. You're not putting... She-Hulk is not a secret identity. It is not an alternate personality. It's not a different skin you put on to behave differently than you would as yourself, especially in this show. Anyway, that'll come up later. Anyway, so she keeps checking her phone, waiting for Josh to get back to her, and Nikki's like, oh, you just gotta wait, it's be fine. And she's like, there's no reason nowadays to not respond to a text. Well, here's the other side of the coin. He doesn't owe you anything. You know, I mean, if he did decide to just say, he has every right to do that. There's no reason nowadays to not respond to a text. Or maybe, like, he doesn't want to talk to you. Maybe. Thank you, Fake Gamer Cat. Shout out to anyone who hasn't watched the show. Just watch this live show to watch this dumber fire. I hope I save you some sanity points. If you don't watch the show itself, I hope this is of some use. Anyway, so she's whining over him not contacting her. Then the next day comes and he still hasn't contacted her. And she's like in an absolute bewilderment, like, why hasn't he talked to me? Why isn't nothing coming on the phone? I'm going to do yoga to distract myself. I'm going to watch Miss Piggy bend some bars because, remember guys, Disney owns the Muppets now, if you've forgotten, so they can do this without too much trouble. Angry Piggy, and she's still sitting there wide-eyed waiting. I'm waiting by the phone, waiting for you to call me up and tell me I'm not a, insignificant and irritating bent. Anyway, so she's waiting by the phone, waiting by the phone, waiting by the phone. Nothing happens, waiting by the phone. Sunday comes, so now it's been 3 days. And she's waiting by the phone, waiting by the phone, waiting by the phone. Oh, but she gets a call, but it's not Josh. It's not Josh. It's Blonsky's parole officer. So, we got a malfunction alert on Blonsky's inhibitor. We don't know what he's up to. She's like, okay, well, I'll check in with him. And he's like, well, you have danced right on over to why I called. We don't have the resources for a squad of uniforms to go with me. So wait. Just so I understand this. A super-duper, super-villain, super-max prison has been holding Blonsky for the last 15 years, at least. You're the parole officer of a super-duper, super dangerous super-villain, but you don't have access to the resources for a squad of uniforms to go check on the super-duper, 15 years long in super-max, super-villain prison supervillain. Okay, well, that's a great plan. That's a great plan. Okay, anyway, so he wants her to come with him because she can turn into a Hulk. And she can conceivably take on Blonsky, because Blonsky, being about 10 feet taller than she is, far larger than she is, far more muscular than she is, she can take on Blonsky if you were to actually go into the Abomination form, as we know. Because, that fight with the Hulk was such a breeze in the Incredible Hulk movie. Right? Because so obviously Jen would have no problem taking on the Abomination all by her lonesome. Anyway, he says, yeah, my chances of staying out of the ICU would be much greater if I had a Hulk with me. I'm not interrupting any plans of yours this weekend, am I? Well, she checks her phone one more time to see if Josh has texted her, and the answer is no. She's like, nope. And then we get a driving montage. She's driving. She's checking her phone. She's singing along to the radio. Bop. Remember Bop? Remember Hanson? Bop. Yeah, that happens. She's driving some more. We come up to, apparently, where Blonsky's compound is. This is his retreat, where all his, female servants or whatever were getting ready to take him off to for his cult retreat or whatever. It's called Summer Twilights. Okay? And so here's parole officer guy trying to open up the gate. And as he opens up the gate, Jen just drives on through right past him. And he's like, wait for me. And she's like, nah, I got this. Like, oh, okay. Can't even stop to say hi, check in with him first, see if there's a... No, okay. So anyway, she just kind of... And she's still checking her phone. Gotta wait for Josh. Parole officer's like, yeah, maybe you should be in, Hulk form in case he's broken out of his inhibitor belt thing and is all green. He says, put on your green suit. Put on my green suit. Yeah, okay, or jolly green, or whatever you do. I call it hulking out. Anyway, so we don't see Jen transform, because that would probably cost money in CGI. So instead we get effectively a static shot of her just standing there being too tall for the room. The parole officer fixes Blonsky's strap, or ankle bracelet, or whatever. And he said, come to think of it, I did get a jolt from an electric fence earlier, but it was worth it because my favorite chicken, Princess Silkfeather, was stuck. I only bring this up because I'm not sure if this is ever going to become relevant at all at some future episode. But, when something this out of the ordinary and significant is mentioned by a character, I reflexively believe that it's going to mean something sometime later. What's that old device? What's the character's name? It's not Dostoevsky's gun. Yeah, whatever that character. The whole plot device is if you introduce a object, if you take the time to introduce a specific object into the story, there has to be some kind of payoff, right? Okay. Now I know I'm giving the writers too much credit and thinking that might be the case. But Chekhov's gun. Thank you, Dax Orion. Thank you, Starsaver. Chekhov's gun. Yes, the rule of Chekhov's gun. If you present Chekhov's gun at the beginning of the story, it better show up in some way at the end, right? There's also that old saying of how if you look at a painting, you have to understand that the artist put every drop of paint on that canvas intentionally, conceivably, unless you're Jackson Pollock. But you know what I mean. If you paint a painting, nothing is there by mistake. Unless you're Bob Ross and it's a happy accident. Anyway, moving on. So Princess Silkfeather the chicken. Is that going to come up later? I don't know. Just make a statement for the sake of it. Anyway, so, so his ankle bracelet is fixed. He hasn't been turning into Abomination. Nothing's wrong. Whatever. They're walking around. And then all of a sudden, out of the woods comes Man-Bull. Man-Bull and El Aquila, or whatever you say. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, these are actual real characters from Marvel. They are relatively Z-list characters, but you have Man-Bull and the Latinx superhero, however you say eagle in Spanish, because I can't pronounce it. Anyway, so they're fighting, and they just happen to crush Jen's car as they're fighting. And so we find out very quickly that apparently Blonsky is running a therapeutic retreat for Z-list supervillains. Right? That's what this is. We don't see his female attendees anywhere in this episode, even though they were like the marquee feature of him getting out of prison and explaining who was going to be taking care of him once he was out. We never see any of those women here at all. So, where are they? What are they doing? Chekhov's gun? I don't know. Anyway, so her car is ruined, And we see that apparently these guys are wrestling to get their aggression out or something. And the eagle here really wants Jen to know that, and before you make assumptions, no, I am not a matador. Right. I don't know what to tell you. This entire episode is just nonsense and meaninglessness. Anyway, so Man-Bull and Eagle have a love-hate relationship wrestling each other on Priuses for some reason. Anyway, so Jen's car is totaled. Apparently nobody on the compound has their own car or any other way to do anything. So they're going to call a tow truck. And Blonsky keeps talking about, you know, maybe this happened for a reason. Maybe this is a teachable moment. Maybe blah, 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 blah. Right, okay. And, you know, I forget, how does this go again? This was like the attempt at a joke that didn't fall. Man-Bull, give us a push to the garage, would you? I want to make sure you see that, so I'm going to let the little thing fade away for a second. Man-Bull, give us a push to the garage, would you? Do I look like a mechanic? My name is Man-Bull, not Mechanical Bull. He asked you to push the car into the garage, not fix it. I don't know. Is that supposed to be? Anyway, so yeah, that's the humor we got. Anyway, so then Blonsky and Jen go walking around the estate. I mean, it's an estate. Holy cats! This thing is like some huge thing. When I was thinking, when they were talking about him having like this little commune retreat thing, I was thinking far more, you know, manufactured homes on a compound somewhere. No, this is like an English estate or something. Or anyway, so yeah, the tow truck won't get here. How long did they have? Let's see. I think it's fantastic news that the tow truck won't get here until later today. Right, so she's stuck here on a Sunday until later today. So what does Jen do for the next montage couple of minutes? And remember, since these shows only run at 22 minutes, minus the credits and minus the introduction, every minute counts. So she spends the first part of her afternoon... Oh, by the way, there's a Sweat Lodge yurt thing over here. He recommends she go use the Sweat Lodge yurt thing to get out some problems, and she's just like, no, I don't want to. And so she needs Wi-Fi because she can't get reception here at the compound. Her phone doesn't get reception. And he's like, well, we don't have Wi-Fi here as a matter of policy. It's too distracting. You know, people need to focus on bettering themselves and not be distracted by all this other stuff. And Jen's like, this isn't how I want to spend my day. I'm going to go find a signal. She's got to find a signal, guys. And so, we finally move into the no-service montage journey. Can you believe that is a chain of words that actually exists in existence now? Exists in existence. Yes, the next several minutes we have a montage of her walking around with no service. Yay. And then finally she comes to a building that has a light on, and apparently she thinks she'll find service here, which she does, amazingly enough. And she walks in, and she finds one bar, and she's like, oh my god, now I can finally find out that Josh still hasn't talked to me. But she has walked in on group therapy. It's Man-Bull and the Eagle, and Saracen thinks he's a vampire. I'm not familiar with this character, Saracen. I'm familiar with a character named the Saracen, who was an enemy of the Punisher back in Punisher War Journal. Ooh, was it 14 something? It was the it was the Sicilian saga. There's like a 3-issue Punisher story where Punisher goes back to Sicily to find his family roots, and there's this guy named the Saracen who's coming to kill him. But this isn't him, because apparently this is a vampire character who operates in the sunlight. Also, there's Porcupine. Now, let's see if I can fall on the frame here. Can I fall on the frame? I can't fall on the frame, can I? Okay, there we go. There's Porcupine. Now, from what little I remember of the character of Porcupine from the comic books, that is about as comic book accurate an outfit as they could have made for that character. So kudos to them on that. But that's about it. Anyway, so Porcupine, Saracen, the Eagle, and Manbull in group therapy with Abomination. And they're here to talk about their feelings. And I swear, nothing about this scene is interesting. It tries to be funny. There's a couple of moments during the course of this entire sequence where I almost kind of chuckled because the actors doing these guys are doing their best to really ham it up, but the writing is so nah that there's nothing there. I mean, if you had a room with a Manbull, a vampire, a porcupine, and a matador, it almost sounds like it just kind of writes itself, right? Doesn't it? Like, that could be funny. You can make something funny out of that. You wouldn't have to try too hard. You know? But no, there's nothing. They just talk. You know, they're like, you two spend too much time together. You're codependent. I'm feeling like maybe it's not healthy. You know, hey, Porcupine, you want to finally take off your costume and sort of open up a bit? You know, maybe you should do that. Wouldn't it be a great step if you take off your suit? I feel safer with it on, thank you. Not even a pun. Anyway, that's all lead up to this. See this guy? Do you remember this guy? Okay, the only reason I remembered this guy is because the subtitles gave me his name when he first showed up. But looking at him, I had no idea who he was. I should know who he was, but the show has done absolutely nothing to set him in our minds. And the show knows that they haven't. Because she says, that guy is here? You probably don't even remember who he is. And you know what? She's right. You know why we don't remember who he is? Because when he appeared on the show, the lighting was terrible, the editing was terrible, the whole scene lasted for all of about 20 seconds, and he's never been made mention of since then. We saw him back in episode 2. And so she says, we're going to have a previously on. And so right in the middle of the show, we have a previously on to take us back to that scene where she was attacked in the alley. And there he is, with the magic crowbar. It's the Wrecking Crew. It's Crusher or whatever from the Wrecking Crew, or Wrecker. Remember those guys where they all happened to have magical items that had absolutely no effect on She-Hulk, which even in most comic book universes that doesn't make any sense because magic generally trumps even the outsized physical physics of physics in comic books. Anyway, so yeah, they attacked her, but now he's here at the retreat. Remember what happened when they attacked her? How the one guy tried to stick a syringe in her and she just kind of forgot about that? Well, okay, well anyway, so now he's here, and Wrecker, he just came out of the yurt, I guess. He says, I was visited by a lot of feminine energy in there. Okay. Anyway, I think I was talking to my dead grandmother, Rose. Okay, so he was contacting his ancestors in the yurt, I suppose. Anyway, so Jen hulks out and picks him up in, I have to say, one of the most underwhelming picking up a person and throwing them scenes I think I've ever seen. You think about the fact that She-Hulk in this show is stronger than even the Hulk. The action, the editing on this, I don't think I can play it safely. See, this is the thing. I would play clips from this show if I thought I could get away with it and I wasn't gonna get dinged for it or something. All I can tell you is, imagine picking up with all the force of a piece of styrofoam in your hand and then just kind of like, tossing it. That's what she does. I suppose if she did it any harder than that, you could ask, why isn't the guy dead? But it's underwhelming, to say the least. Anyway, so she throws him into a pile of chairs. And Man-Bull's like, I stacked those chairs. Blonsky's, I'm gonna need you to sit in the calming chair now. Yeah, she's in trouble now. Okay. I'd love to work through our issues if you'll let me. Okay. So, a man who previously attacked you seemingly for no reason and tried to extract something from you with a syringe, or one of them did, which apparently you've forgotten about, and then hit you with magical weapons that had no effect, and the origin of which we've never found out. He shows up, and what do? We sit down in group therapy. From now until the end of the show, I could seriously click on the timeline right now, and we will have missed nothing of importance. You see how much space I've got here on the timeline from where we begin with this? Everything in here is meaningless. The only thing that happens is them, if you can believe it, praising Jen for being Jen. And she's too good for Josh, who ghosted her. And she just needs to delete his name and his account from her phone and forget about him. And she gets all empowered. That's it. And there are more lame attempts at, I don't know, humor in this. I swear, I might be doing you a disservice. If you really want to know everything that goes on between these characters in this scene, I can only say you're going to have to watch the show yourself. Because I can guarantee you, there is nothing of substance that takes place here except one big, very badly written and produced hug box session where Jen is made to feel better about Josh not getting back to her on texts. And these guys completely coming to her defense. That's it. You have a circle of white knights for Jen Walters. And her once again going like, I just want somebody who likes Jen for Jen and isn't out to be She-Hulk. You know that friend in college who's like better looking than you and everybody finds more popular? I feel that's what She-Hulk is for me. You know? And the entire time I'm sitting here going, in the comic books, Jen Walters eventually decided to just be She-Hulk because she liked being She-Hulk. She would rarely, if ever, transform back into Jennifer Walters because she accepted her She-Hulk form as something she enjoyed more. She became comfortable with it. There wasn't this whole back and forth. You're not a Jekyll and Hyde character. I don't know how many times my mind was just sort of like growling at the screen. This would make sense if you were two distinct personalities. If people liked She-Hulk but didn't find Jen that compelling, then maybe there might be something there. But unfortunately, the same personality is there regardless of the body shape. And it's that personality. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to skip all this because I swear, there's no point in me wasting my breath or your time in trying to cover it. Everything leads up to Jen is amazing, you don't need that guy, you're too good for him, and we're totally on your side, and we love you for who you are, Jen. We're here to pick you up, Jen, us Z-grade supervillains. Now, I had thought that with Wrecker here and Blonsky, I was thinking, okay, is this part of a plan? I mean, they're waiting for her outside of the yurt, because can I fall on that one frame? At the end of the hug box session, she says, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm hurtin' for a yurtin'. I'm hurting for a yurting. And so she does. And so now she's in the yurt, apparently sweating out her frustrations or whatever, and the guys are just standing there waiting for her. Now, I had thought that this was all some sort of grand plan, because I'm giving the writers way more credit. I thought that with Wrecker there, and Blonsky there, and these other guys, and this guy who made several mentions of just like sucking out people's blood, and given what we saw in the last episode, given that there was a syringe in episode 2, I'm like, are they gonna like jump her in their superhero, supervillain forms now that she's been like all weakened by the yurt, and extract her blood for the major bad guy in the background now? Because that would be exceedingly convoluted and bizarre of a way to try to get her blood out of her, but given this show, I could see it. I could see it. She's like all weak and dehydrated from the yurt, and then Blonsky just abominations out, and all the guys zap her and then hold her down and then take her blood. No. She goes to the yurt, she comes out of the yurt, they're all like, yay, you're awesome, we made a card for you. It says, bye Jen, we love Jen and She-Hulk. Oh, thanks guys. It says from the gang. And Blonsky's like, it says gang, but it's not a literal gang, you know? Just make sure to make that clear to the parole board. The parole board? You're already out. The parole board's done. There's no parole board anymore. Unless, I don't know. Anyway, so he walks her over to the tow truck, which has her Prius, and here's a little Easter egg. I don't know if I can fall on the right frame here. It's always about falling on the frame. The name on the tow truck is Slott, S-L-O-T-T, as in Dan Slott, one of the Marvel writers and such. He's also the guy who, in a tweet last week, was happy because, you know, if I'm watching a She-Hulk show and I see She-Hulk, I'm happy. Because apparently that's the threshold necessary to be entertained by a show, or to be satisfied with a show. If the thing in the title is in the show, that's apparently enough. At least for Dan Slott, I guess. Anyway, so she's in the tow truck, and I don't know if this is a cameo by someone. They linger the camera on this person for a second. I could believe it if somebody told me this is an artist, this is a writer, this is someone. Maybe that's Dan Slott himself. I don't know what Dan Slott looks like. Anyway, so he's there. She's in the car. She's feeling the wind in her hair. Everything else. Oh, a Power Girl song starts playing in the background. Oh, but then we jump back 3 days earlier. And what happened 3 days earlier? Well, she and Josh went in to have their little tryst. And then in the middle of the night, Josh gets out of bed. And he's all dressed in bed already. And he's copying everything from her phone. He put his phone on her phone and he's copying all her data. And as he's walking out, he sends a text to the bad guy from the end of the last episode, Hulk King. And the emojis he sends are a bloody syringe, green potion, thumbs up. The assumption being that he has surreptitiously extracted her blood in the course of the evening, or in the course of lovemaking, or something. I don't know how. I don't know how it didn't wake her up if he did. But he has what they need, and Josh was a bad guy all along. Because seriously, who would shower Jen Walters, the character rendered in this show, with that much affection for no good reason, unless they were obviously disingenuous, because you could only be that kind of person to make it even feel like you're putting up with that attitude. And that's the end of the episode. That's it. There's no after credit scene, nothing. So everything that happened between dating montage and that last little bit meant nothing for the plot. Now, maybe those characters will appear later in the series. You know, they'll show up to shower more praise on her or help her out in a problem. I don't know. But yeah, Jen never became curious enough to wonder maybe something happened to the guy. She does. I'll take it back. She does mention at one point maybe he's in a ditch somewhere. Right? That did occur to her to say, but beyond that passing thought, never occurred to her to follow up on that anything at all with maybe some, you know, associated friends that he had at the wedding that say, hey, you know, nope. She's fine. He ghosted her, and she's done with him, and it's done. And thanks to Manbull and Porcupine, she's in a better place now. Great. Well, there you go. That is it. That is all. And yeah, we get these little drawings of the different supervillains, I guess. I don't know if there's anything more interesting about it. Not really. I think that's the only one. I could be mistaken. Oh, there's Manbull. Oh, right. When Porcupine finally did take off his mask for 2 seconds, all of his sweaty funk, because he never takes his suit off, came out, and it was all like stinky, and they were all like, maybe you should take that to the dry cleaners. So I guess he eventually took it to the dry cleaners because the after credits art tells me so. I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's the episode. So the bad guys now have Jen's blood, which has apparently been the subplot we had no idea about, really, except for what happened in episode 2, and then was forgotten for several episodes until last episode, and now. So, presumably, purportedly, next episode, we will see Daredevil. I think. I heard he's not going to show up until episode 8 or 9. So, it might be next episode, and that's what everybody's really been waiting for, is for Daredevil to show up. Except for a lot of us who have seen this show and seen what they've done with the characters and know that they don't treat the characters all that well in the writing department. And if you're going to have Daredevil, the vigilante by night, lawyer by day character on this show, I really hope he doesn't have to be in a courtroom scene. I really hope not. It's bad enough he's on this show, but to show up in a courtroom scene. Anyway, that's all I've got, because that's all the show had. So I will check in on you guys here. Shark Dentures. I would never claim to be a talented writer. I am a semi-talented dungeon master, but even I could never write something this bad without traumatic brain injury. It's just... You can tell... And they've admitted as much in public. This is the thing, I don't have to guess at a lot of the mentality of the writers. They have admitted in interviews that they didn't read the She-Hulk comics, they weren't big comic book fans growing up, they don't know anything about the law, that this show is not about superheroes and that tired genre, it's about the everyday slice of life stuff. So watching it, I can believe it. The thing I can't believe, or I guess maybe I should just start believing more, is that this property, or hell, any property, is handed to people who don't have an appreciation for the IP. But we keep seeing it happening over and over and over again, as though it's we're going to disrupt things. We're going to break new ground. This isn't your dad's She-Hulk, you know. And then what happened today? Or yesterday, or the couple days previous. If you guys didn't know, Ryan Reynolds posts a little video, all right, on Twitter saying, "Hey, Hugh, you want to play Wolverine one more time?" "Sure, Ryan." And the world explodes. Because what happens when you give the fans what they want? What happens when you have an appreciation for your audience and for the material you're working with? Ryan Reynolds in the Deadpool movies has been teasing the return of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine internally in the movies and in public for years now. Years. And finally they're going to get it. And everybody's losing their minds for a movie that won't be out for another 2 years. But good golly, Miss Molly, if you actually care about the fans and you care about the characters and you care about the IP and you reflect that in the product you're making, you might get absolute and total support without having to do too much heavy lifting. One announcement, and there is more goodwill for Deadpool 3 than any Marvel project that has come out in the last 3 years, or any Marvel project that is slated to come out in the next 3 years. There is more excitement now for Deadpool 3 over one thing, one decision, one announcement, than I can, aside from maybe No Way Home, right? Now, I really do hope that the only thing that's going to get people excited for a movie, the only thing that's going to make a movie interesting is we're going to bring back an actor who played a character from a previous whatever. You know, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Hugh Jackman. I really hope that doesn't become the default. But, you know, at the same time, it's like, this is a running gag that's been going through the Deadpool movies and in interviews for years now. So there's kind of a payoff there. Besides which. Starsaver, at my most generous, I'll give them this episode as world building, but that just raises so many more questions about the MCU in general. Yeah, Manbull explains his existence through lab experiment gone wrong, doesn't touch on that anymore. The Eagle shows off his bioelectric powers once for about 3 seconds. We don't know. Saracen the vampire, I don't know that I've ever heard of the character at all myself. Porcupine, never really explained. It's fine. You know, for a comedy show, for a satire show, it'd be fine. Except that it has to somehow fit in the, you know, broader MCU because it's supposed to be part of the MCU. But if they never explain it, I'm not going to lose too much sleep. I'm really not. Shark Dentures again. No one wants to watch a slice of life non-superhero show. I could see someone doing it, right? Like a Harvey Birdman kind of thing. Or if you'd established the Hulk or Captain America or something, and you put them into a completely mundane situation where their superheroics become a punchline, I could see that working as a limited, maybe one-off thing. As a series? But either way, they don't really accomplish that here. LOL, yeah, Hughes wasn't bad either. I just like Ryan just a tiny bit more. Well, yeah, Ryan Reynolds is just, you know, a total comedian in all things. He's just entertaining to watch in whatever. But Cultist 4, this series is more silly than funny in a bad way. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what more I can say that I haven't already said either about this episode or the series so far, because it's poorly written, it's badly constructed, it doesn't entertain, it doesn't even like fulfill any sort of like fanboy stuff. Like I could see like all of a sudden you bring these Z-list supervillains that I'm at least, you know, visually familiar with and do something with that, but they couldn't even do that. Anyway, you know what? Okay, here's what I would have done. Okay, this is just an aside. I'm not going to take too long here because I want to keep this at least under an hour. There's I believe it's Marvel Comics. If I'm wrong about this and I'm completely mixing up my universes, I apologize. But in Marvel Comics, there was a place called the Bar with No Name. I hope it's not a DC thing I'm coming up with, but either way, there was if it was a DC thing, there was an analog in the Marvel Universe of a place where the supervillains went to hang out and drink and just be supervillains. And they were mostly Z-list supervillains, low-end stuff. There was a plot line in a Captain America comic years ago. There was the Scourge of the Underworld. It was this guy who went around killing supervillains. He was sort of like the Punisher, but for actual supervillains and not like drug dealers and things. Anyway, the bar with no name as a concept, even if I'm getting it wrong from where it belongs in the continuity of things. Imagine if She-Hulk had to show up at the bar with no name and you had every minor supervillain you could think of sitting there just hanging out and doing nothing. And she's there to meet a client or to get a drink, or she heard about this bar or whatever. Or she needs to drum up clientele for the law firm. Right? What if she did like a whole like Saul Goodman kind of thing? Well, why did Willie Sutton rob banks? Because that's where the money is. If I need to find superhero clients or superpowered clients, go to where they hang out. That could be a funny scene of her trying to like ambulance chase for her law firm, for the superhuman law division. Wouldn't that be something? Anyway, what am I talking about? Let's see. Random American. It was a place to make criminal contacts. Yeah, that too. Senior staff reporter and chief Florida correspondent Colleen Bernier. They are trying to increase their market viewer base, but they're doing it at the cost of their core market viewers. Well, again, the question that's been going on for this show and so many others, who is this made for? Is this made for comic book fans? Well, no, because they don't service anything out of the comic books except in the most thin veneer. Is this made for comedy fans? No, because it's not funny. Is it made for superhero show fans? Well, no, because there's no superheroism, I should say, taking place. Is this for like legal drama, legal comedy fans like Boston Legal or Ally McBeal or whatever? No, because there's no lawyering taking place. Even in the courtroom scenes, there's no lawyering taking place. It's a show made for no one. And it's turning off everyone. Anyway. There's apparently a real one in Britain. Oh, the bar with no name? I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, it was an actual place in the comics where all the bad guys went. And lastly, The Awakening Messenger. It's not even made for kids, but it's like a Barney show. It's got the same level of lessons and mentality, but you've got adults in the roles and adult situations taking place. Yeah. But here's the major flaw. I can like a show where the main character is inherently unlikable. Right? The Sopranos, if you'll recall. Or say, here's a blast from the past. There's a show from Fox from the 90s called Prophet, starring Adrian Pasdar. Excellent show, but the main character is effectively the villain. But it's a villain you want to watch operate. It's an intriguing character. Even if you know the main character is unlikable in real life, you can make a compelling protagonist. Our protagonist in this show is just unlikable. And she needs everybody around her to tell her how awesome she is, even though she doesn't do anything. She just has to stand there, right? She throws a guy into some chairs, and then suddenly it's a love fest for her. She doesn't actually go out and do any superheroing at all herself, seeking out people to help or trying to stop crimes or do anything. But we're supposed to consider her a superhero. Except she doesn't want to be a superhero. She doesn't want a superhero outfit. She's never going to wear it because she's never going to be a superhero. So what am I waiting for? What is it going to take for her to suddenly realize that she should be a superhero? Obviously Daredevil. And we'll probably find that out next episode. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. On the off chance you'd like to hear more from me, you can find me here tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, for a new episode of TED Excellence, the show in which I take a look at off-brand TED Talks for education and entertainment. I call it Entertation. Tonight's offering is probably one of the most TEDx titles of all TEDx titles I've ever read. It is understanding allyship, identifying yourself as a problem, and changing. Yes, friends, tonight we will all discover how to best categorize ourselves as the villain and turn ourselves into less of a villain in order to be good allies. I can't wait. Can you? Well, you're going to have to, because it doesn't happen till tonight. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very little to do. Everybody who donated, either to myself or to the GoFundMe's pinned to the top of the chat box, to our friend Shady Grin, Angry Illinoisian, and his kitten, thank you so much for your generosity. It really is appreciated. Everyone, hope you have a good rest of your Thursday. Hope you have a good rest of your week if I don't talk to you sooner. Hope you're all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.